Hi gents, we're gonna have a look here at some tax questions because you were asking me in the class that we might just do some revision of it. So we'll start off here. This is the 2019 paper, just give you an idea of what you're meant to be doing. It says Katie has a gross annual income of €52,460 and 8.5% of this is deducted. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to start off with €52,460 and find out what's 8%. So 8%, 8.5% even. 8% would be 8 out of 100 or 0.08. That's 8%. 1%, for instance, that's 1 out of 100. That's 0.01. And 8.5%, well, that's just 8.5 out of 100, which is 0.085. Okay, you could type any of those into your calculator, but one would hope that you would know those ones certainly off by heart. So what we want to do here is a couple of things, I suppose. What you could do, here's one example, find out what is 8.5% of 52,460. So 0.085. It turns out that that is €4,459.10. And what it says is that's her gross income, so that's what she gets before anything's taken away. 8.5% is deducted or subtracted from it, and the amount that she's left with is her taxable income. So what is her taxable income? So of course you would just take 4,459 away from 52,460. So that comes to, that comes to 48,090. You'd just be subtracting that amount from the one above. Okay. Another way to think of it is this: she starts off with this amount. How much is being taken away? 8.5%. So what she's going to be left with, okay, she started with the whole amount. That's 100%. 100% is all the money that she has, 52,460. So if you want to take away 8.5%, you'll be left with 91.5%. Okay, so you can do it like that. So what will we do here? Well, it's pretty simple. Get 1%. Okay, you get 1% by dividing by 100. Get both sides by 100. So that's that amount there. I've just moved the decimal place in 2 because we're dividing by 100. And remember, we want to find out what is 91.5%. Okay, because that's what we'll be left with. And I'll just verify it here. 524.60 multiplied by 91.5, because we've gone from 1% to 91.5%. And there we go, we have the exact same answer. So two ways to do the same thing. Excuse me. Okay. Katie pays income tax on her taxable income. Okay, so as far as we're concerned, it was kind of unusual. They don't tend to ask that question, but they did there. So in this case, what's happened is that 4,459 has gone straight into her pension. So forget that it even existed. She can worry about that when she's 75 or whatever she's going to be when she retires. So as far as we're concerned, her income is 48,090. And this is the stuff that can be taxed. So the way tax works is that you've got a standard rate and you've got a higher rate. So the standard rate works like this. The first 34,000, in this case they tell us, is taxed at 20%. So we have to find out what is 20% of that amount there. Okay, so 34,000, and of course 20% is multiplied by 0.2. So we're just getting our tax bill here. It's 6,800. Anything above 34,000 is taxed at 40%. So anything above it. So in this case, to get what's above it, you would just do 48,090, and you would be subtracting from that 34,000 on the button. Okay, so it's anything above it. It's not that 48,000 is going to be taxed at that. That's not what it's saying. It's just saying anything above it. So that's 14,090. So 14,090 gets taxed at 0.4 or 40%. So 14,000, I'll just type it in here, 0.9 multiplied by 0.4. So the government is going to be taking 5,636 cents. Okay, so this is the tax you rate at the pay at the standard rate. This is at the higher rate. So what we call is, we would say, our gross tax. Okay, our gross tax bill is those two things added together: how much tax you pay at the lower rate and at the higher rate. So the theory behind it is, of course, that those who are not earning a lot of money, like if you're earning just 34,000, it's not a dreadful wage or anything like that. It's probably around the average industrial wage. In fact, you would be only taxed at 20%. Only 20% of your income is being taken. Whereas when you earn more than that, you know, in this case, she's earning 48,000. The theory is that once you're over a certain threshold, you can afford to pay more. So, you know, if you're only earning 10,000 a year, the government typically doesn't want to take tax off you, because then you can't eat, and small little problems like that. So for that reason, tax is quite low down when you're earning a small amount, and the more that you earn, the theory is that you can afford to pay more in tax. Excuse me. So we can pay, or sorry, we can just add these two together to see how much we will have to pay in tax. So our total tax bill is 12,436. But what happens is you get a tax credit. So a tax credit, you subtract off a tax credit from your gross tax. This gets to come off your bill. And actually the reason for that is, for instance, you know, if you were only earning 10,000, they actually don't want you to pay any tax whatsoever, because they feel that you know, they would prefer you to put it towards food and electricity and stuff like that. So you take away your tax credit, and that's what's called your tax payable, or your net tax is also what they call it. So this is the tax that you would actually have to pay in this particular instance. Okay, so hopefully you can see what the distinction is there. So that's 8,236 cents for net tax, as it's also known. Okay, work out Katie's net income after, so that wasn't what they said. So this is your actual tax. Okay, so net income was this. She started with 48,000. I know that she actually started with more than that, but we were told to ignore that because some of it went on her pension. So we'll say that this is her taxable income minus the actual tax that she has to pay, which is 8,236 cents. And what that will leave you, so this was like her gross income, but it wasn't really. They call it her taxable income. It would normally be known as gross income, other than the fact that they muddled it up with a bit of pension stuff in there. So taxable income was that. We subtract off her net tax, or how much tax she actually has to pay. So what was that? It was minus 4200 to, just making sure I have the number that I need on the screen. Yeah, so 48,000 was it, and 90 cents. Is that minus 8200.36? So that's 39,000. 39,800. Made much more sense. And 54 cents. This thing here is her net income. This is what will actually reach her bank account when, first of all, pension is taken away, leaving her with this. Then these two pieces of tax are added together, but your tax credit gets to come off it. So this is the actual tax that you have to pay. So you take that away from that amount there, like we did, and that is her net income. Okay, so she's obviously on a more than decent salary, but if you want to know how much that would be per month or so, that would be about 3,300 going in. Okay, so that is how the tax system works. Here's another kind of financial maths, I suppose, bit that you would say here. Katie got a credit card bill 3 months ago for 420. The interest rate on her credit card is 2% per month. Goes up each month. She has not paid off her bill. Work out what it's going to be. So let's think about this. She owes 420, and to increase it by 2%. So to find out what 2% is, you would obviously do 0.02, but to increase it, and then you could add it on. To increase it just directly is you just multiply by this. Okay, so maybe the way I kind of do it, or the way I said it, is P1, principle 1. You start year 1 with this, and you end year 1. Use A for just the end of it. The amount that you owe at end of year 1 has increased by 2%. So now what happens is in year 2, you can think of it like this, or month 2 in this case. You start the year owing 420 times 1.02. I'm not going to even bother calculating what that is. And at the end of that year, you owe, well, you did owe 420 times 1.02. And that amount, of course, has been increased by 1.02. So another way to write that, it's still the amount that we owe at the end of year 2, is 420 times 1.02 squared. And you're going to start year or month 3 owing 420 times 1.02 squared, and you will end that year with 420 times 1.02 squared. That's how much you started owing, and you're going to have it increased by 1.02 again. So there you have it. At the end of the whole time, it'll be 420 times 1.02 cubed. Let's find out what that is. 420 times 1.02 power of 3, and it's said to the nearest cent. So the amount owed is 445.707. And by the way, just something that's worth doing, just to see how crazy this can get. Let's say she leaves it for a while. Okay, she gets real lazy. Let's say she leaves it for, I don't know, 5 years, we'll say, something like that. Okay, not mad. People hold on to credit card debt for a whole lot longer. So if you do 5 by 12, that's 60 months. So it'll be 1.02 to the power of 60. And I just want you to take a second to type that in yourself and just see somebody who has left a credit card just for 5 years. And I know that sounds like a lot, but you know, if you're in debt or whatever and you haven't been able to pay it off, it's not mad for that to happen. And you'll see that 420 euro becomes 1,378, okay, which is real bad. So suddenly, you know, it is more than tripled. And finally, if you leave it, for instance, for 10 years, what you find is that 420 euro, do we imagine it's doubled here? You know, has it now become that? No, it hasn't. It's gone to 4,500. So in 10 years, it ends up being so much more than that. Probably unrealistic to leave it for 20 years, but if you did leave it for 20 years, you know, just double the amount of time, it would be 48,000. Suddenly it's gone absolutely wild. Okay, so just what's the moral of the story? Don't get into credit card debt. That would be my advice for you for the day. Katie bought a motorbike last year. Since she bought it, the motorbike has lost 10% of its value. The value of the motorbike is now this. What was it when she bought it? A really important conceptual thing. Really important. Do not get 10% of that and add it on. Really important. She started off with it being worth the full amount. We don't know what that is, but it lost 10% when it went to 12,150. So it's currently at 90% of its value. So what you should do is work out what's 1%, okay, and you would do that by taking this amount and dividing it by 90. So 1 to 150 divided by 90. Is it a nice number? It is actually. So 1% of what you started with is 135, because this is 90% of what you started with, because it lost 10% in value. So now to get back to 100%, multiply by 100. So 13500. So 13,500 is what it started with. Okay, and you can check it, find out what's 10%. Obviously 1,350. Take it away. Do we get 12,150? We do. We do. Okay, so that is that's just a little bit there on tax. Okay, and how the tax system works. So what I would like you to try out is question. I think it's from 2018, if I'm not mistaken. They've got a good one for you to give a little shot on. There you go, 2018, question 10. It's paper 1, I would strongly suspect. So if you could do that for me, that would be great. Okay, gents, take care. Enjoy the rest of the day. See ya.